So you want me to say my name?
Yeah, say your name.
Mercedes Mariana Patricia Winholtzker.
What do you have to say to the camera?
Huh?
What do you have to say to the camera?
I have to say that
It's your birthday!
I'm feeling 22.
Our dear friend Mercedes was a loving daughter, an amazing friend, and a confidant to many people. She did not deserve this at all.
This is Kujo Young. He's charged with armed robbery, and this woman, Mercedes Vega, picked him out of a lineup. She ended up dead in the desert in a burning car. Well, now we've learned that Young was also the target of an investigation by the Arizona Attorney General and was charged as the ringleader of a cross-country drug trafficking enterprise.
Department of Public Safety received a 911 call about a car that was on fire. This incident took place outside of Tonopah, Arizona, about 10 miles west of the Tonopah exit off of Interstate 10 near milepost 85. A local fire department also responded, put the vehicle fire out, and they found a young woman inside that was deceased.
Eventually died from smoke inhalation while being burned alive in that car. Her parents believe death wasn't the ultimate goal, and she paid the price for fighting back.
Why would you not just shoot her in the parking garage?
She was tortured. Ultimately, that if there's no other way you can say this, this, and this.
Her parents say she danced at a club 2 nights a week, and they are working to learn if her death was tied to somebody who met her at work and if there are other victims involved. While Mercedes' ashes now sit on their fireplace across from a wall.
The tragic case of 22-year-old Mercedes Vega captured headlines after she was targeted because of her profession as a dancer. Mercedes was sent to be a key witness in a felony case aimed at bringing the man who targeted her to justice. But before she could testify, 3 men orchestrated a plan to kidnap, torture, and execute her in the most horrific manner. Today's case takes us to the state of Arizona, where we will do a deep dive into Mercedes Vega, social media, hear from her family and best friends, including those who dance at the same club as Mercedes, and will also uncover the motive behind this tragic crime. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to hit the like button, drop a comment, and share the story. And if you appreciate deep dives beyond the headlines, please be sure to subscribe to my channel.
On the night of April 16th, around 9:15, surveillance footage shows Mercedes walking to her car at her Tempe apartment complex. She was heading out to meet friends, and it's the last look at her before she was taken.
This is hard for us to grasp because she did not think anything was going on. Because if she did, she would have been paying attention to her surroundings.
Her parents say just seconds later, Mercedes was attacked.
She was hit over the head, and there was tissue and blood in the parking garage.
What happened next is still unknown.
Is that she was like sleeping and she didn't feel anything.
But the report also revealing the type of evil Mercedes faced before she died. The 22-year-old had bleach in her throat. She was shot in the arm and had blunt force trauma to her head.
She was tortured.
Before Mercedes' tragic murder in 2023, her path first crossed with Kujo Young in 2020. Now, Kujo Young once had a promising college football career. Kujo played wide receiver for North Texas in 2018. But instead of staying focused on a future on a field, it's alleged that Kujo made a choice that would change Mercedes and his life forever. But prior to the alleged armed robbery in 2020, Kujo Young appeared to have a promising football career. Kujo Young took to social media and he stated, "Sophomore year is complete. God has a plan for me." Now, prior to that, in 2018, Kujo Young had taken to social media and he said, "Concrete can't be broken. My granny proud of me. Repaying her for everything is my motivation." Now, in 2018, before he committed to North Texas, Kujo Young had received various D1 scholarship offers. In fact, he made a post in 2018 and he said, "Blessed to receive a D1 scholarship offer." Now, in addition to that, he made another post and he said, "Blessed to receive a scholarship offer." Now, prior to this, in 2020, Kujo Young allegedly made a decision that would change his life forever. Now, even after Mercedes identified him in a lineup as the man who allegedly robbed her in 2020, Kujo Young continued chasing his football dreams, even uploading videos of his off-season training in 2021. Now, because Mercedes is no longer here to tell her own story, her mother is speaking for her, sharing the encounter that set the stage for the horrific events that would ultimately claim her life on October the 16th, 2023. Now listen to Mercedes' mom as she explains the encounter.
Robbed at gunpoint. And this is the first time Pillsbury is publicly talking about the violent crime.
How did you find out about what had happened?
About 5 o'clock in the morning, and I got a call, and it was from an officer.
According to a Phoenix police report and court records, just before 5 a.m., Mercedes was on her way home from the gentleman's club where she worked. After she pulled into the parking lot of her apartment near 16th Street in Thomas, she got out of the car. And that's when a man wearing a mask and gloves pointed a gun at her, demanding she give him her phone, keys, and her bag containing money. Fearing for her life, Mercedes complied. He demanded her phone's password, and Mercedes' mom says she was then shoved to the ground while the suspect pointed a gun in her face.
She had gravel in her back, and I was trying to pick it out and put hydrogen peroxide on it.
Mercedes' friends remember the impact the attack had on her. She never returned to that apartment complex, immediately moving out, carefully choosing a new apartment in Tempe she felt was safer.
I remember she was just scared. That was just the only way. She was trying to kind of start over in a different way, do different things than what she was doing, because I felt like she tried to take it as a lesson learned.
She was definitely like, yo, we need to make sure we're protected and we're very aware of our surroundings, and like especially just fellow dancers.
A month later, a fellow dancer at the same club Mercedes worked at was targeted. Newly obtained documents from Scottsdale police show at 3:45 a.m. a man was seen on surveillance footage walking through an apartment complex parking garage wearing a hooded sweatshirt and gloves. And as soon as the woman got out of her car, the suspect approached her at gunpoint, taking off running when a passerby arrived.
It was interrupted. And fortunately, nothing was taken, and she wasn't assaulted.
As investigators worked to solve the cases, Mercedes noticed activity on her cash apps. A person was trying to transfer money out of her account and into his. After police tracked down that person's account and learned the suspect's vehicle information, they were led to Kujo Young, pictured here in his University of North Texas football uniform. Mercedes identified him in a photo lineup, and Young was charged with armed robbery and attempt to commit armed robbery.
Mercedes was a brilliant person and very observant.
Following Young's arrest, he posted his bail, $30,000 in Mercedes' case and $15,000 in the Scottsdale case.
This is a horrible situation that my daughter went through, not only once, but again when she was murdered.
Mercedes would never get to see justice. As she and her family awaited trial, she was murdered.
Excuse me, his name is Cudjoe Young. Now, you heard that Kujo Young was targeting dancers. It's alleged that he robbed Mercedes and then attempted to rob another exotic dancer, but was unsuccessful. However, what finally identified Kujo Young, at least for Mercedes' case, was that he attempted to transfer money from Mercedes' Cash app, and when Mercedes noticed, she alerted authorities. Authorities eventually tracked him down, and Mercedes was able to identify him in a lineup. But then here's where the big question from everyone is coming in. How does a football standout go from chasing football stardom to allegedly targeting dancers and running a drug empire? Now, at the time that this was recorded, Kujo Young had posted a $45,000 bail because at this time he had not yet been charged in Mercedes' case. Now, here's where things take an interesting turn. In 2020, as you know, Kujo is charged with the alleged armed robbery of Mercedes. The trial for that had been delayed several times. Now, fast forward to 2023, he's going to be going to trial. However, Mercedes was unalived, and because she was unalived in April of 2023, now the trial has been delayed. However, once the attorney for Cudjoe learns that Mercedes has been unalived, he lets the court know that he has ethical concerns and cannot continue in the case. Listen to
hearing.
The victim in one of the cases died about a week ago of something presumably unrelated.
Young's attorney asked to withdraw from his case, delaying his trial for armed robbery.
The situation, the ethics question that I'm dealing with and wrestling with, and I was instructed by my ethics counsel that I have a mandatory duty to withdraw.
And in November of 2023, he was arrested in a Tempe police narcotics operation, accused of facilitating a large-scale drug transaction involving around 40,000 pills containing fentanyl. 11 other defendants have been charged in the case, and while some have been offered plea deals, Young has not. He's been held without bail ever since.
I'm very grateful that he's sitting with no bond.
Young was supposed to go to trial for the 2 armed robbery cases this week, but in a new development after changing attorneys again, it's now been pushed to October.
We all just miss her so much.
Mercedes is no longer here to aid in his prosecution.
In honor of my daughter, I will be there every single day in court.
Now, Kujo Young was previously implicated in the armed robbery against Mercedes Vega. However, he was not previously implicated in the unaliving. It would not be until June of 2025 that he would be implicated in the tragic event of Mercedes Vega unaliving. Prior to that, it took 1 year before any arrest has been made. Then come June of 2025, this is when prosecutors announced that there have been 2 additional suspects. So listen to this.
Pleads not guilty to all charges. His name is Sincere Hayes.
Hayes is from the same area in Tennessee as this man, Kujo Young.
A crime that should have never happened.
Over a year later, Sincere Hayes was the first arrest in Tennessee charged with the 22-year-old's murder. New court documents filed this month say fingerprints found on a bag in Vega's car was a match for Hayes. In the other car, a print on a cup, a match for Gray.
The evidence that they have, you can't dispute the evidence.
Those documents allege Hayes and Gray flew from Tennessee to Arizona in March of 2023. MCSO says flight records, credit card statements, online accounts, and cell data led them to submit conspiracy charges against Kujo Young. Young is currently facing numerous felony charges in Maricopa County, one in armed robbery. Vega, the victim, that case years before her murder.
You know, we didn't know who Sincere was, and we didn't know who Jared Gray was, but we knew who Kujo was.
Court documents say Gray is behind bars in Georgia. Staff in the Catoosa County Jail told ABC 15 they did have someone by that name in custody with a warrant for murder here in Arizona. We have reached out to MCSO for more information.
It's the first step, and it's going to be a long journey, and we know it's going to take a really long time.
I'm finally going to be able to look these individuals for however long it takes in their eyes and feel me sitting there. I'm not going anywhere.
Young has not been formally charged. The county attorney's office would not take our questions when we asked about his case.
Now, on April the 17th, 2023, Mercedes' body was found burning inside a Chevy Malibu, a car that did not belong to her. A 911 caller who reported the fire said they saw someone walking around the vehicle, but police have never confirmed who that person was. Hours earlier, security cameras showed Mercedes walking into the garage at her apartment complex, parking her Dodge Charger, but she was never seen alive again. Now, the next day, her Charger was found abandoned in the middle of a road about a mile from her apartment. How it got there still remains a mystery to this day. Now, OnStar data shows that the Malibu was at her garage the day she vanished, and both cars was tracked to a nearby restaurant where Mercedes' Charger was later abandoned. Now, inside her car, DNA linked to Sincere Hayes was found. During the investigation, detectives conducted follow-up interviews. In those follow-up interviews, two people informed them that Kujo Young paid them to pick up the vehicle. The vehicle, of course, was the big piece of the puzzle that was missing in this case.
CPS 911, where's your emergency?
I just want to report a car. It's on fire. It's off the side of, it's on the north side of the westbound lanes on I-10, about the 85.5 mile marker. It was like down in the bushes, but I saw a flame inside the vehicle.
You said there's people outside the vehicle?
I believe I saw at least one person outside, yes.
Friends, family, and co-workers remember Mercedes Vega as more than just a dancer. Her family has made it clear that Mercedes was very confident, she was driven, and she had plans of opening up her own gym and becoming a fitness trainer. In addition to this, her family once said that they did not believe that prosecutors were taking the case seriously because Mercedes was a dancer. Now, her family made it clear that they would not stop until Mercedes received the justice that she was entitled to.
With one of her best friends who worked with her at the club and remembers fearing for her safety as others were being attacked.
You go through different phases of anger.
For Helena Gamboa, time doesn't heal all wounds.
Life happens and you want to talk to your friend and you can't even do that.
On April 17th last year, her best friend, Mercedes Vega, was murdered.
When someone comes to your door at night and tells you that your child is gone, just the word deceased, anything that, I miss her. It's so hard to believe that she's gone. It's so hard to believe I'm never gonna see her again. I miss her so much. She was so bright. She was such a beautiful, sweet, kind soul. She didn't deserve this. She didn't deserve what happened to her. It just doesn't seem real that she's gone.
Meaningful conversations about life and the difficulties of it all. God, I miss you. I never ever in my life thought that there would be a world that you weren't in. Here I am. You were robbed of your life and your future. We, your family and friends, were robbed of watching your future, and that can't just be for nothing. I'll be damned if these vile, evil people get away with what they did to you. Of all the ways this could have happened, never in my life or any other life would I ever accept the way this happened. Never. Mercedes, you were such an intuitive, empathetic, and beautiful human being. I know for a fact if this absolutely inhumane, horrible crime were to happen to any one of her friends or family, that she would fight. Unfortunately, that has become the reality for myself, her friends, and family. So here again, here we are, fighting for her.
Mother for 17 years. She's not my biological daughter. We are a blended family. And Mercedes doesn't know her father. I'm her father. When she was younger, typical, 13, 14-year-old child, she was very rebellious and wanted to do her own thing. And I pulled her aside and I said, being your father is a choice. It's not an obligation. I can't do all the good things, but there's also got to be bad things involved in that too. When you do something wrong, you should be held accountable, things like that. It took her less than 24 hours to come back to me and say, I want you to be my dad. And she made me the father I am because our family, I have children all over the place. and I had her every day. And she challenged me, but she also made me a better man. She made me understand what she wanted and what she wanted in life. And she was just becoming a young woman to move on to that next step in life. She, you know, at that age, you're kind of figuring out what you want to do, and she's like, you know what? I don't want to do what I'm doing now. This is what I want to do, and I'm going to go that path. And she was very determined. This is a young lady that wrote a PowerPoint presentation to go to Disney World at 7 years old. This is a person that wrote a PowerPoint presentation why she should get a tattoo. I mean, she actually put her mom and said, you used to read me this when I was a baby. And what are you going to say, no to that? I mean, that's pretty hard to say no to. She was just a very thoughtful, caring young lady. She had a thing like with babies. They used to call her the baby whisperer. When we would go to church, she was not old enough to take care of the infants. But because she was so good with children, they let her go into that section and take care of him. She just had that nurturing feeling. Of course, she kept to herself. That's 22 years old, but I miss her. I miss her a lot. I'm not going to get to see her get married. I'm not going to hold my grandchildren. I'm not. And it hurts to know that. It hurts to know that what my family's going through. And I don't want any other family to go through this if there's more to this than that. So I do want someone to come forward. We need to put this to rest. The nature of this is just over the top, way over the top. And no one's family deserves what we're going through. I miss her every day. I talk to her every day. I stood in the shower and I said, talk through me. I need you to, your voice needs to be heard. You're not silenced, and I will not be silenced. I'm done being quiet. I have to be her voice. I miss her so much. I miss what, she would call me just to tease me. One time she called me another story. She told me, she says, I want to tell you something. I'm like, okay. She's like, I got another job. Or no, actually, take that back. She goes, I'm pregnant. And I'm like, what? You're pregnant? She's like, I'm just messing with you. I'm looking to get a different job. But that's the kind of relationship I had with my daughter. I talked to my daughter, even though she's 22 years old. I would drive from my house to her house to bring her medicine if she was sick. I would drive to put air in her tires. I saw my daughter twice a month. And at the beginning of the month and the middle of the month are the worst times of my life because I can't call her. If there was something going on, she'd call and ask advice. We communicated with our daughter on a regular basis, even though she was 22 years old. And she was so loved, and she was robbed of that opportunity to become a mother and become the person that she was meant to be. She had bigger things in life. Her journals, and I don't want to get going down that, but if we're able to read some of this, what this person wrote, they were deep and had a lot of wisdom. And I need someone to come forward. I really do. I don't know how else I can beg you to come forward. I really don't. You have a conscience. Think of what happened to her. Would you want that to happen to you or someone you know? You would not. At all. It was terrible what happened to her. Terrible. And I know there's people out there. I do. And it's time for those people to not be afraid and think if it happened to her, it could happen to me. And we don't know. Nobody knows. But I want it to end with my daughter. I don't want this to be another family. I do not. If there's more to this. I do not want that. And again, I thank all of you for being here. I thank all of you for being here. And my daughter is sitting here right now with me, and I can feel her telling me that she is loved and she is missed. And she's telling us it's going to be okay. and she mattered. Her life mattered, and I don't know what else I can say. I miss her so much, so much. You never know how much you can love someone until they're gone or ripped from you. You take that for granted. I don't take it for granted anymore. I don't take for granted that I have other children. I don't, because you never know.
It's been a year today since I've seen my daughter. 1 year ago today. I have all these feelings and emotions that I want to get out. All this anger. I am trying so hard to keep calm, and I feel so supported. I remember what she was wearing. She's wearing her like Playboy bunny full-on suit. She came downstairs and I got to see her for just a few minutes. So it was dropping something off to her, picking something up. But it was today, a year ago, today, that I last saw my child, my baby girl. I try to dedicate at least a few minutes a day to do something to get justice for her. And so many of you watch that video. I'm hoping that so many more of you do as well. There's so many mamas out there. It's so crazy to me what I've learned about how many Arizona kids are taken and they're never ever either found or they're killed, and no one ever pays for it. I don't know whose fault that is. I know a lot of people are blaming the Tempe Police Department right now, and I do want to clear that up. It is not the Tempe Police who are investigating Mercedes' case. It's the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. Tempe Police are the police that found her car illegally parked. I don't want you coming at the Tempe Police. I don't want you coming at MCSO. I want justice for my daughter. I want the person who killed my kid to be found.
One month before she was killed, Mercedes visited her favorite place, Hawaii, one last time.
When she came back, she said, "Mom, I want my kids to cremate me and spread my ashes in Hawaii because that's where my soul belongs."
We're gonna let we have so many snacks, guys. We have so many snacks.
ESO records, investigators believe this man, Kujo Young, was the mastermind behind this heinous plan, all because Mercedes Vega was cooperating in his prosecution. In October of 2020, officials say Young followed Mercedes home from her work and robbed her at gunpoint. Mercedes helped police identify Young in a lineup and was actively aiding in his prosecution at the time of her murder. Officials believe Young, originally from Chattanooga, also recruited both Sincere Hayes and Jared DeMarcus Gray to fly from Tennessee to Arizona in March of 2023. Young is accused of purchasing their flights and purchasing the car they would use in the murder. Then in April, Vega was kidnapped from her Tempe apartment, tortured, and murdered. Her body was found inside of a burning car off the I-10 freeway near Tonopah. Investigators say Gray and Hayes then traveled back to Tennessee the next day. Records show officials linked Gray to the crime because his fingerprints were found on the bottom of a cup that was left inside of that burning car. Records also indicate Gray has a criminal history and is currently in custody on unrelated charges in Georgia. We imagine he will be extradited here to Arizona to face this first-degree murder charge as soon as possible. As for Kujo Young, the county attorney's office tells us his case that was submitted against him, all for that conspiracy to commit murder charge, that is still under review. The state says it is planning to seek the death penalty against Sincere Hayes. We will see if they do the same against these two additional suspects.